All right, we are back with Happy Hour Analytics, specifically talking about Black Friday. Happy Hour Analytics, Black Friday, the traditionally happiest time of the year, right after Christmas. Uh, I'm here again
Right after Thanksgiving.
right after Thanksgiving, before Christmas.
Come on, Keith.
We've been pre-gaming, so this is not our first foray into this. As always, I am Keith Perhac from SegMetrics, founder of SegMetrics, joined with Scott.
I'm head of product strategy at SegMetrics, founding member, been here a long time.
Long time. We went from the agency to SegMetrics, and now we're drinking. What are we drinking? I am drinking Bochi Bochi, which is it's a Japanese style rice lager from Crux Fermentation in Bend, Oregon.
Nice.
I really like them.
I'm having a 18-year-old Balvenie single malt, so always Scotch and wine with me.
I think you win. I think you win this time. I need something a little bit light today because I still got more after this. So we'll see how I handle.
I have the advantage that we do these when it's actually like happy hour my time.
Right,
and
exactly.
It's late afternoon your time, so
it's 4 o'clock. Like I got
you've got a little bit of work left to do, and all I really have to do is move from here to wherever. Right. So
all you need to do is go out on the porch and get your cigar. I actually have.
That's exactly right.
I actually have stuff to do. All right.
So we're going to talk about analytics. So
Black Friday analytics.
What do we mean by analytics? Are we talking about metrics and KPIs? Are we talking about like what are we paying attention to? In our last video we talked about product strategy, right?
Yeah.
How to position things, how to talk about things, which products to pick, how to pick them, what to think about. So now are we talking about measuring once the sale is live?
I think it's two things. I think let's break this up into that, that beginner, intermediate, advanced, or that basic, intermediate, advanced that we kind of talked about last time, where it's not how sophisticated you are, it's really how much effort you want to put into this for how much return. When I think of, everyone thinks about analytics as like a post thing, right? It's like, oh, I did a sale. How did I do? Right. And with something like Black Friday or a sale or something like this, you have a very solid foundation and understanding of the goals you can set because you did this last year and you did the year before and the year before that. And depending how long you've been in business, you maybe did this for 10, 20 years, right?
You sold stuff last month.
You have,
right? So
you have a projection for how you're going to do this next Black Friday. And that's where analytics helps. And so, you always talk about like, oh, we made a decision based on analytics and we're going to do this going forward. But we can actually use our past data to understand what we expect to do this year, set those goals and expectations, and then see if we exceed, meet, etc., and what we need to do to get there.
And really good shameless plug for SegMetrics here. Because we ingest all of that past history, our platform's easily able to help you tell that story. Like I said, shameless plug here. That's not generally why we're here, but
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you asked off the top of your head, like, okay, how many people did I get last Black Friday compared to the rest of the year versus how much ad spend did I spend, like all of that stuff. Like if you weren't tracking it at that point, it's really hard to get that data. And that's one thing that we're good at is pulling really back that historical data and saying like, okay, this is how many people you got in. This is how much you spent on ad spend. This is how many of them actually clicked an ad. Boom, you're done. Right. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. Not to turn this into a shameless plug because, as you know, I'm the worst salesperson on the planet, but I do like talking about data.
Somehow, how did we partner up? Because I'm also the worst.
I have no idea.
I love our product, so I sell it in so much that I like to talk about it and what it's really good at. But I don't have a sales bone in my body either, right? It's just like
I just really like data.
Come use it or not. I guarantee if you do, you're going to be happy.
You're going to love it.
Okay, so what should we track?
So I think there's a couple of things. I took notes, which is kind of against the ethos of this whole thing, but
right inside of your personality so purely.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so there's 5 things you want to think about. So you want to think about your overall traffic, right? Like how much traffic do you get in a general month? right? And
Okay.
that's going to be our base number that we're going to kind of think through. So the way I generally do this is I look at what was your average traffic by month over the last, let's say January through end of October, right? Because
Are you
that's
looking
going
at
to,
particular pages? Or are you looking at the site overall? Or are
I
you
think
looking at
overall first,
overall? Okay.
because the thing
Because
about
every page is going to year to year is going to probably be
it's
different, but
going
you
to
may
be
look at
different.
last year's to set a gauge for next year, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I think that Black Friday is all about the top level numbers. Like I don't you're not it's going to be focused, but it's focused in a way that you don't have you're going out generally to the overarching internet, right? You're not targeting specific people, you're not doing retargeting. I mean, go back to the strategy video. We talk a lot about
Mhm.
what your goals for Black Friday should be, and so a lot of that changes, but I think it's good to have a just a general base number. On average, how many people visit your
Yep.
site during a month? How many of them purchase? Or sorry, how many new leads do you get during a month? How many people purchase during a month? And then how much are you spending on ads each month? And then finally, the big
Mhm.
one, I think, which is sales velocity. How long does it take for someone to go from a lead to a purchase? Right.
And in a Black Friday scenario, you really want, and we talk about this a little bit in the product strategy video, is you want to pick a product that people can make a decision on pretty quickly,
Yes.
because that offer is going to come and go pretty fast,
Right.
right? So you may not, if there's a big convoluted sales process or something like that, that might not be a good one, because that sales velocity is critically important to get people to convert quickly. So when you're looking at your product strategy and then tracking your metrics, you want looking at your historical metrics. You want to see which products sell fastest, right?
Yeah.
Which ones people make decisions about quickest. That
Yeah.
makes total sense.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes a lot of people think, oh, it's the cheapest product. That's not always the case.
That's not always the
Like,
case.
yeah. And you really, what you want to do is you want to use analytics to find your most expensive product that also converts the
Converts
fastest,
quickly.
right? So
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you have
that
three
totally makes sense.
products at $10, $50, and $100, and they all convert at the same speed, you want to be selling that $100 product, because
Yep, yep.
it gives you a lot more space to do that. Um, yeah, and anything that takes a long time to purchase or has a long decision-making process, just get rid of it for now. Like
Hmm.
you don't want to be using that on Black Friday.
I
I
mean, you
think
might use it as an upsell offer,
an upsell, right? You don't want that to be your
but you
main.
don't want it to be your main offer.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. All right.
And I think you've got to really focus too on you mentioned prepping for ads and ad spend and things like that, right? Black Friday is an expensive time to advertise, so you want
Yes.
to factor in. You said this is not something you think about right in the moment, right? You want to be planning, and you want to plan for increased spend during this time, whether that's coming out of your existing ad spend or not, right? Whether you're going to defer a
Hmm.
little ad spend in the summer when it may be slower to Black Friday, or whether or not you're going to push it. But if you don't accommodate for the increase in competition for those ads, your ads won't feel like they are as effective as normal, because the competition is just off the charts.
It's yeah, it's much harder. It's much harder. And I think that, so going back to what we want to do with this, I think we take all those numbers and then we compare against last Black Friday. So we say,
Okay.
what was the average month of, what was our average monthly traffic? What was our average monthly revenue? What was our average monthly lead gen, etc.? And then we compare it to the 4-day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe 5 days, Monday is Cyber
Mhm.
Monday as well, and compare that number to the what's it called, to your average, right? And so
Mhm.
then you're going to get a comparison of, okay, this is how much we make on average each month, and last year for Black Friday and that Black Friday weekend, this is how much money we made.
So we
And
see an increase, hopefully, right? You see
yep,
an increase over Black Friday, so that helps you then to set your sales target for this Black Friday.
right,
Is that what you're
exactly.
saying?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Because and it's not gonna be perfect, but it gives you a general thing. So, and one thing to keep in mind, though, is that, if you're looking at averages, there's 30 days in a month. There's only 4 days in the Black Friday, section, so multiply by 7.5.
Right,
Um,
right.
just to average out. Because so what you're gonna wanna do is you wanna say, "Okay, on average, we make $10,000 a month in revenue. During
Mm-hmm.
Black Friday, we made $8,000." Well, that sounds like shit until you multiply by 7.5 and get, I can't do math
Yeah,
because,
but you get a much bigger number because you did that $8,000 out of the ten thousand
yeah,
dollars in
60K.
4 days,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So that's an average of 60,000. So
Mm-hmm.
now we know that we make 6 times as much during Black Friday as we make on average during any other month.
Right, which then that factors into all your decision making about how much should I spend on ads.
Right,
If I were
exactly.
gonna get $60,000 in revenue, I'd probably up my ad spend.
Right,
You know,
exactly. So I would start by saying, let's set those goals, right? So take the numbers we talked about: leads, sales, revenue, etc. Multiply, take that average and multiply it by
Mhm.
whatever that multiplier was from last year and the year before, and that is the amount you can expect to see during Black Friday. And
Yep.
so then this gives you a number of, okay, if I now expect to see 8K, 10K, 60K, whatever during Black Friday, I can now scale my ad spend. I can scale my support team. I can scale infrastructure. I can scale things by that same
Mhm.
percentage, probably hopefully a little bit less. So you're making more margin, um, just to condense in that Black Friday sale.
And so, do you track? How do you track that? I mean, obviously, SegMetrics can help you get those numbers, but as you know, again, from an effort perspective,
I
do you
mean,
write them down? Do you
yeah,
scratch them on the notepad? Do you?
I would honestly, I'd put them in a spreadsheet,
Okay.
and I mean, and not be really hard about it. I would say go into your Stripe or Samcard or Spiffy or whatever you're using and say, okay, show me all the sales from January 1st to October 31st of 2023. Divide by, that's all the sales. All right, divide by 30 and then divide by 10. And then that's
Hmm.
how much you make each month. And then do that in ConvertKit or whatever you're using as your CRM. That's how many leads you got. And then that's your base number. And then do the same for that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or not Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday block for Black Friday, and then compare, and then just have it
And
calculate
that's
out that
assuming you're
percentage.
not using a tool like SegMetrics
Right,
because you
which
get
does
all
it
that data. You
automatically.
wouldn't have to go into all those platforms. You could just use SegMetrics for it. And you're saying, hey, just shot those down to begin with,
Yeah, just
right?
just
That's what
jot
you're
them
going to
down
track
for
against.
the
Okay.
yeah for the easy stuff. But that what this does, and man, way back in the day, I was, I think, a freshman in college, sophomore in college. We were doing the big "we're doing business" thing, and we went to a convention, and we were planning on selling all this product, and we thought we would be making, I think we estimated out like 50,000, $100,000 or something, like going to this conference. And we had bought all this product and stuff, and we went it there and we did all this stuff. And the numbers that we had set were not reflective of reality at all. And so we had a lot of product left over, and we had done a lot of work for not a lot of revenue. And it's really easy in the moment for this year's this Black Friday. It's like, oh, we're gonna do great this Black Friday. We're gonna make $100,000. That's our goal. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
cool. Is that realistic? Like, what did we do last year? Like, let's
Right.
say
You have nothing to gauge it against,
nothing to
right? So
gauge it against, right?
it's just a dart on the wall, and you have no idea.
And it's good to have those big, hairy,
Hmm.
audacious goals, but it's also good to know, what have we been doing traditionally? What have we
Hmm.
done last year, the year before, just as a percentage, not as a
Right.
actual number, but as a percentage of overall sales, because the your business has grown, hopefully, over the last year. And so
Right.
if you're looking at a flat number, that's also going to be very off. It should be much lower than the flat number you're going to get this year, but those percentages should be at least in the
Should
ballpark.
be, yeah, at least somewhat.
Yeah.
And of course, you know me, you said put things in a spreadsheet, right? And again, shameless SegMetrics plug. Or you could build a Black Friday dashboard that would do this for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you need help with that,
We
be
can do it.
glad to help.
Scott, there's nothing Scott enjoys more than building out
A
dashboards.
good dashboard.
A good
Right, it's
dashboard,
true.
especially a Black Friday dashboard.
It's true.
So, okay, so let's go up to the next level. So we talked about kind of the base of like
Mm-hmm.
you got to know where you were to know where you're going, right?
Right.
And so the next thing is like, okay, I knew where I was. What now? Like
Mm-hmm.
let's say that I made 2x during
Okay.
Black Friday. That's kind of sucky. I would like to do much better than 2x. How would I go about it? What do I start looking at to get beyond what I did last year? How do I improve from last year?
You know, sidebar for the audience, this is a conversation we have every year with Keith.
Yes.
I'd like to do much better than we did last year.
No matter how well we do, and that's the founder's conundrum. No matter how well we do at any moment, it's the Asian parent thing, right? Like no matter what you got an A, great. Why not an A plus?
Why
right?
not an A plus? Right.
We did very well. Why didn't we do better? What can we do to do better?
I think one of the things at the next level that you really got to pay attention to is where are your customers coming from, right? Okay, so we look year over year, we leverage the analytics, we set the strategy, but now we got to figure out, okay, we know how much we're shooting for. Where are those people going to come from? Where like did we sell more people from Facebook than Google? More people from TikTok than Snapchat? More people from affiliates than not? Right? Where did our customers come from? Because that's really going to drive how you frame that Black Friday strategy. All in all,
Yeah.
I think you've got to do that. Otherwise, again, you're kind of shooting in the dark, right? And the world's changed, right? In the last 12 months, maybe 24 months, right? TikTok's got a whole different hold on the advertising community. Maybe you should be looking back 6 months and say how much revenue did I get from TikTok, because that information, you may not have even been on TikTok 12 months ago, right? So you got to now get more specific and think about where are my customers coming from usually, and where did Black Friday really succeed for me last year?
Yeah, and it's sometimes places where you don't expect. We had, and I'm trying to remember if this was Black Friday or a different sale time, but we had all these sales coming in from somewhere during a standard sales event, right? And we had all these sales coming in from somewhere where we had no idea where they were coming from. Like, what is going on? Like we had
This?
like, what is this? Like we see the domain, we see all the UTM tracking. We're like, this isn't our stuff. What is this? And one of our affiliates actually had really wanted to sell SegMetrics. And so they set up a bunch of ads. They set up a bunch of promotions. They really pushed SegMetrics through their affiliate account. And we got a ton of new trials and a ton of new customers and a ton of traffic from just one person who was like, you know what I'm going to sell for Black Friday is someone else's stuff because I don't have an offer.
That's exactly right.
And we would,
right? But you wouldn't know that if you didn't have a platform like ours to look at it.
Right, because
say,
we weren't spending the ad
spike
spend
being caused by, right? We hadn't increased ad spend. We
Yep.
hadn't changed tactics at all going into Black Friday. And then all of a sudden, we saw big spikes right before Black Friday. And we're like, okay, what's happening? A quick look in SegMetrics says, oh, look, all of this is coming from this one place. And then we go, oh, hold on, we know who that is, right?
Yep.
So that's the kind of thing. And this is where really having a solid platform like SegMetrics helps with that kind of analysis too, right? Look back historically at your data and go, where did things come from in the past? Where have I seen unusual spikes? And then maybe you find out that people are talking about you that you don't even know are talking about you.
Yeah.
And you're just not going to get that otherwise.
And this is something I don't think that a lot of people in our industry have this issue, but once you get to mass market kind of stuff, people are writing about you when you have no control over that, right? I read a lot of video game news. I read a lot of movie news, but like Black Friday, even if you're not promoting your product, someone somewhere has said, I'm going to put together, because they want all the clicks on their website. It's like, and everyone's searching for Black Friday deals. So all the news sites want to put up Black Friday articles and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So there's all this traffic coming to your site that you do not control.
That's right.
And that is something that I think is high levered. And we talked about this a little bit in the strategy call or in the strategy discussion, where we were talking about find those things that not everyone else is on, that's not necessarily paid traffic, that are those link groups or the blogs or those
That's
sub
right.
communities. I just remember this. So you remember Patrick McKenzie, Patio 11?
Uh-huh.
He did the bingo card creator thing. And what was fascinating was there was a group of, and I'm trying to remember, I'm going to get this wrong. I think it was Jane Eyre enthusiasts. They had a Jane Eyre, essentially, Internet Book Club
Book club.
Society.
That's right. I remember. I
Yeah.
remember you telling me this story. Yes.
And they were responsible for like $20,000 worth of sales or something insane like that. They just kept sending good traffic to him from various places because they had a huge community. It was all over the internet. It was $20 at a time, but it's just like so many people involved. And he had no control over this, right?
Right. And occupied by a lot of teachers, which is really the target audience for his
For
product
his, right,
was,
exactly.
right. Yeah. So the
And
group itself was massive, and a big subgroup in that group was all school teachers. And somebody said, "Hey, I use this tool," and boom, his
yeah.
sales go up.
And they were also using it for there were like Jane Eyre word parties. Like at the book clubs, they
Mm-hmm.
would use the bingo card
That's right.
as the game,
Yep.
like as like a parlor game kind of.
That's right.
Mind blowing to me. Not part of that world whatsoever. And then that spurned him on to, oh, if there's this type of community, what other types of communities are
Right.
there that I could also build a word list for, a product for, or that I can go into some sort of promotion? This goes back to the zigging when someone else is zagging, going into whatever everyone else is doing. You want to be doing something different. You want to stand out.
I think that's a really good point, right? In that suddenly now I could write an F. Scott Fitzgerald bingo card that's going to give you SEO juice. It's going to give
Yep.
you right. There's so much juice
And
that's just available because that some of these people are already participating. Some of the same kinds of folks, the people who are really passionate about Jane Eyre, there's going to be an equal number of people passionate about another author or another thing,
right,
right? And
exactly.
I think I think it ties into your video game analogy, right? If I like this particular type of game and I don't know about this one out here, if I just find a way to sweep it in somehow, article or whatever, I'm going to drive a bunch of traffic that
Yep,
direction. So
exactly. And so really going back over not just Black Friday, but over your last year of where did people come from? Are there
right.
places where a lot of people came from, not necessarily just traffic, but good traffic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Valuable traffic that converted. If there are
Mm-hmm.
places like that, that's definitely somewhere where you want to go in and reach out to them. And it's like, okay, we're really going down this Jane Eyre, like
Yeah.
literary thing, but reach out to them and say, like, they're not going to have a Black Friday sale, right? They're not going to be
Right.
promoting anything on Black Friday. But now that you know that this is a solid channel for you, reach out and say, hey, we're doing this Black Friday sale. Would you mention it in your newsletter, or would you want to write a blog article about it, or whatever that is, right?
Right.
Like, this is a huge opportunity for you to find people in your not in your ecosystem, your target audience, that also aren't really, they're not inundated with a lot of this stuff. It's a message
Mm-hmm.
from someone that's trusted. It's going to rise above all of the 50% off noise, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to help your channel. And you can't get that data unless you're looking back at how things have changed over time, and where not just people are coming from, but good customers are coming from, and seeing that click to visitor to customer
Right.
transaction.
Had a little bit of lag there. Hope that didn't make
Yeah,
it
you
into the
stopped there
video.
for a second.
Um. All right. So I think the other
Next
thing to
level.
pay attention to, yeah, the next. Well, I think we started in kind of that mid tier level, but I think it's important to pay attention to a few things. You got to break your Black Friday sale into a few areas. You need to think about it. Well, what happened before Black Friday? What happened during Black Friday? What happened
Hmm.
post Black Friday? Right? What happened there? And that's really difficult to do unless you have a really good analytics tracking system or a good team that can pull these numbers from various
Yeah.
sources. You want to pay attention to, are you going to get a spike or not? Sometimes businesses don't, right? Sometimes that's the case, but you want to know that going in, because otherwise you could waste a whole lot of money, a whole lot of effort, set up a whole lot of stuff, build sales pages, all that thing. So really pay attention to breaking your data up into sections. What's my normal traffic look like? What's my Black Friday traffic and stuff look like? What happens after that, right? Do
Yeah.
I get residual sales? Do I get things like that? I think is really important to also pay attention to. And this was way more popular back in the agency days when we were dealing with launch models, right? Where you'd have like nothing, nothing, nothing for 3 months, big sale, big promotion for a product, nothing, nothing, nothing for 3 months, big sale, right? So you have to also kind of understand the shape of your sales cycle, right?
Yeah.
If you're selling things consistently, then just look back a couple months and then look forward a couple months, right? Look back year over year or month over month. But if you historically don't sell that way, then look at it really understanding what does that sales cycle look like for you,
Yeah.
um, because you may not have the right kind of spot for that.
I think this is something important to look at, which is especially if you have longer term product sales or if you have anything that has a product orbit. So anytime that you have a single product that goes into a different product or a subscription or something like that, I think looking at lead gen during Black Friday and comparing that. So what is your revenue from new leads during Black Friday
Mm-hmm.
versus what is your revenue from those same people over the next 6 months? So you want to time box people who joined during Black Friday. What is their value after Black Friday?
Sure.
1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, and map that out, because that is going to show not only what you expect to do during Black Friday. And, we kind of talked about this during the strategy call. Black Friday itself may be a slight disappointment from a revenue standpoint. But if you are really good at nurturing your list, selling additional
Mm-hmm.
products, that kind of stuff, you have created a long-term sales funnel that
Mm-hmm.
gives so much more value to those leads that come in during Black Friday than they would just within
Yeah.
that short time frame.
Yeah, 100%, right? You really need to pay attention to what that lifetime value for those Black Friday leads are, right? So, and in the strategy call, we talked about Cards Against Humanity, right? They didn't sell a lot of new card decks during Black Friday, but they sold tons more to the leads that they collected through Black Friday. And the only way you're going to know that really is to be able to look at these patterns and these changes. And again, shameless plug for SegMetrics, right? Because this is exactly what
Right.
we help with, is that ability to show you what are the repeat purchases from the people you brought in from Black Friday. How long did it take them to convert to a customer? Did they do it on day one? Did they do it on Black Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, on Monday, on Cyber Monday, or did it take them a month of them becoming familiar with your brand, getting really good at it, and then buying? And then what did they buy after that, or the whole
Yeah.
product orbit after that,
Or
right, is
or even
critically important.
or even something like how long do subscriptions stay on? So subscriptions, we kind of talked during the strategy bit about what are is a subscription product a good thing to sell during Black Friday? And it really
Mm-hmm.
depends. It's
It
a hard
depends.
sell, but it's a valuable
Mm-hmm.
sell. And you were
Right.
talking about the annual
Annual
subscription
plans.
that you had signed up for, and you're still a customer 2-3 years later. And so
5 years, I think. I
five
think it's
years.
I
So
think it's 5 years.
that's something else valuable to look at, which is that Black Friday sale has been worth 5x the initial purchase over
That's
those
right.
5 years. And so that lead value, if you have something that is subscription based or you have multiple products, anything where you're continually selling has a higher value over time. And that's, yeah,
That's exactly right. And the product I bought was so well done that if they had add-on products, I would probably upsell. I would probably do more. I don't, because they don't, right? They continue to add content. I continue to consume the content, but generally speaking, they hooked me with quality at a price point in a time frame that made some sense with a sales strategy,
Mm.
and I've stayed on as a result.
So what else do we? I'm trying to think of what else we haven't covered because we've talked a lot about
Mhm.
this stuff. Let's talk about retrospectives real quick because I think that
Mhm.
I'm always iffy on talking about retrospectives because kind of like we talked at the beginning of this is that people have a view of analytics as an after thing, and it's something you do to
Mhm.
see how well you did, not something that you use to improve your marketing or take you to the next level. But I think that with something like Black Friday that is such a fixed point in time, I think it's very important to do those retrospectives. um
Mhm.
what are some of the things that you see? Like, I have my thoughts about retrospectives, but what are some of the things that you think about when you think about a retrospective for something like Black Friday, and what would you do with that? Like, it's
Mm.
nice to have a retrospective, but what do you do with that information? Because just having the information is kind of meh.
I think there are two things that happen. So retrospectives allow for providing for cultural memory, right?
Mm,
So we've been talking about the analytics, and definitely you want to be data driven when you're looking at your retrospective. Did we get as many visitors as we expected, as many customers as we expected, as many leads, as many sales, whatever, right? But the other thing that happens with retrospectives is, how did we do as a team? Did we, for example, let's go back a year, even in our business, we put 4 people online on Friday and got almost zero customer service requests, right?
hmm
We were worried about it because we knew that Black Friday had the potential to have a big push, right? And then we didn't really need that. So where a retrospective could make a difference in general is, we thought one thing and we learned another thing. We set a goal for one sales thing and we learned something else from it. We aren't tracking in the right time frame. Maybe we thought we would get a whole bunch of upfront sales, and instead, going into next year, we should look at it from an overall customer value. So maybe that retrospective doesn't happen, in December. Maybe it happens in August,
yeah.
right? Depending on it, right? So what should we do next time? It should absolutely 100% be data driven, though, but it can't ignore the intangibles of, did our message hit? Did our development team hit the sprint goals to get the pages up? Did we have any coupon problems or customer service problems, right? You got to handle all of that on top of looking at your analytics goals to say, we set a goal of an increase of 10%, we only got 5. So do we adjust that next year? Do we countermeasure it next year? What do we do?
I think that your point about the cultural memory, I think, is hits the strongest with me, because I think that there is a big there's a tendency for people when they do the retrospectives to say, we expected a 5% increase, we got a 5% increase, and it's like, okay, sure, whatever. But I think that
Mm-hmm.
the things I think the most important parts of retrospectives are outliers. And I'm always, me, I'm always big about
Mm-hmm.
outliers. Anything that goes against your expectations are the things that you want to talk about during those retrospectives, because those are the things that you're going to take action on. If you get on that retrospective call and say, revenue was up 5%. Okay, what does that mean? I mean, I
Right.
understand that we're up 5%. Cool. I could have looked at a dashboard. I didn't need a retrospective about that. But why? Where did they come from? If you come in and say our leads from ads or our sales from ads were down 30%, but all of our remaining sales came from this one affiliate or for this one thing
Mm-hmm.
or whatever that is, like, oh, now we have something we can latch onto. And it's like, oh, what do we want to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you kind of said, like, Black Friday is going to be next year. What can we
Right.
do next month or the month
Right.
after from this information? Um, One of the most fascinating retrospectives we had was with a client, and we had done a big push, and we were in Yahoo Finance, And I think we were getting something like
That's right.
10,000 leads an hour or something like that. It was insane. It's absolutely insane. We were running split tests in real time. It's crazy. And at the end, we did a retrospective of it. And we were like, man, everyone was worth a penny. Like, it was
Right.
horrible for the support, worst people coming in ever. They didn't buy anything. There was no value, blah, blah. It was a failure. And we did this about, I think, 2-3 weeks after we were done with it.
Right.
And then we had a follow-up retrospective 6 months later. And 6 months later, those same leads were worth $1.50 a piece, right? Which doesn't sound like much, but there was like 80,000 of them,
80,000 of
right?
them.
So it's
Exactly. Right.
like, okay, that's a
Yeah.
different story. And it's because it required time. And so I think, and that's something that was unexpected. If we just said, okay, it's all the same, there was no need for that retrospective because it was just what we assumed, right? But when we have a major change, something that is such an outlier, is so different that we can take action on it, I
Hmm.
think that is a fascinating thing. And I'm still talking about that, what, 12 years later, I think?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a valuable thing to have in those retrospectives, is something that stays in that cultural memory and affects change. And I think that's the hardest part of these retrospectives. So it's not just like, okay, we got 4
We
more
made our
support.
number. We didn't make our number. So
Right.
we didn't make our numbers. So therefore we suck. That's not the point of a retrospective. The retrospective is to say what worked, what didn't, what will we change next time,
Yep.
right? Where will we focus next time, and then go from there. So I think it is critically important to be data driven about it, right? We need to be able to look at things like what it was that lead value a month later, because that lead value 6 months later changed everything,
Yeah.
right? Right. So going into it the next time, would we follow that tactic again? Sure. We just wouldn't expect that payback to be instantaneous. We'd expect that payback to be
And
6 months later.
exactly. And it sets those expectations because, I mean, there's a lot of times where you look at something much later and you're like, oh, we made $100,000, $200,000 from this. We should do it again. And then we don't get those results up front and we feel it's a failure, right? Because
Mhm.
we didn't do that retrospective in an accurate way, and we didn't ask the right questions, and we didn't have the right takeaways from that retrospective.
Right. And we didn't, I think going into your next sale, right, whether that's a holiday sale or a promotion of some kind, New Year's Eve, whatever it is, right? The New Year's sale, whatever you're going to go into, put the lens on the camera of saying, okay, what worked with my last sale? My last one
Mm,
was Black Friday. What worked and what didn't? And to your point on the Yahoo News thing, right? The Yahoo Finance thing. When we first looked at it, we thought, well, that was a failed tactic, and it cost us a lot of money to do. But then, right, 6 months after that, we look at that same kind of cohort and we go, hold on, that really wasn't a failed tactic. So now going into the next sale, push it again,
right.
right? Right. So it's really, I think it's important to use your whether it's Black Friday or New Year's or a launch or a special event, whatever, a convention, a trade show kind of sale that you're doing, whatever you're going to do, take that data and use it to inform your future sales.
Yeah.
I think it's a critically important thing to always be paying attention to.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I'm out of my drink.
I'm one swallow from mine, so
So let's end it with the main advice that everyone should take out of any of these talks that we have, which is do post purchase upsells. You must do.
yes.
I
Okay, yeah,
ranted
that's
about
what you
this in
pushed in
the
the
strategy
last
call.
video,
I
right?
ran about this in the strategy call, but man, if you don't have post purchase upsells, put some post purchase upsells, free money, Black Friday, post purchase upsells. If you take nothing out of anything we talk about during this entire video series, anything that we ever talk about, post purchase upsells, just add them
Okay,
in.
I'm going to add mine on then.
Literally
You
free money.
can't manage what you can't measure. So if you don't have a good way to measure all of the things we're talking about, start measuring it. You've got to be data driven. You've got to be data curious. You've got to be there,
Scott,
because you could have that post purchase upsell, man, and if you don't know if you're selling any of it, it doesn't really matter.
why do you got to be the adult? Why do you? I had my little rant, my easy thing, and you're like, but you got to measure it, and you got to know what the hell you're doing. And you are 100% right. If you don't know what the hell you're doing, then you're not going to be able to succeed in business. And I know we said we were going to leave, but I got one more thing.
Okay.
This is the issue that we see with analytics with businesses, is that they don't start looking at analytics until they start failing. And by then it's
Oh,
too late.
dude,
It
I think
is,
this is a whole. I think this is a whole
this is a
topic,
whole different
right?
topic. This is
That's a
not Black
whole
Friday
different
stuff.
topic,
We'll talk
right?
about this
Let's
later.
finish on the Black Friday thing, but let's put this on the list to talk about next time, because I could talk to you forever about building a culture of being data driven. Because you are 100% right. People start looking at tracking the minute things don't seem to be making sense to them, and that's this. I won't say stupid. That's the worst time to begin the thinking. Start from the beginning. And you've heard me say this a lot when we get people who sign up for SegMetrics. When people come in and they are really brand new, those are the people I am most excited to work with, right? So let's make this a whole topic.
Yeah. Everyone who's listening, you've been warned. Forewarned, I guess, that we're gonna
It'll be
dive
more
into
of a
that.
Scott ranting than it will be a conversation between Scott and me.
That's what the people want.
That's what the people want, is Scott ranting.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thanks,
As
all.
always, talk soon.
Thanks.